Bikini Girl from Mars. By David Cartret. The first hint of spring had barely whispered through the barren branches when Larry stepped outside to grab the newspaper. The chilly air nipped at his nose, and he wished he'd grabbed his jacket. His quiet street looked like a scene from an old black and white photograph, still and silent. It was the kind of morning that promised a bright future, a stark contrast to the mundane reality of his life. As Larry bent down to pick up the newspaper, a sudden flash of light in the sky caught his eye. It grew brighter, closer, and he realized with a start that it was no mere meteor. The object descended with a thunderous boom, tearing a hole in the fabric of the quiet suburban afternoon. Larry's heart raced as he stared at the smoking crater in the middle of his neighbor's lawn. He had to rub his eyes to believe what he was seeing. A group of stunning women, all wearing metallic bikinis, stepped out of a gleaming spaceship. Their leader, a statuesque redhead with emerald eyes, approached him with an air of confidence that was almost intimidating. She spoke in a language he didn't understand, but her intent was clear: they had come to conquer Earth. Larry's mind raced. He'd seen enough sci-fi movies to know that alien invasions never ended well for the humans. He took a step back, his hands shaking as he tried to process the impossible situation unfolding before him. The sound of sirens pierced the air, and within minutes, the men in black arrived. They emerged from their sleek black vehicles, their suits gleaming like the night sky. The Martian bikini girls didn't even flinch. They stood tall and proud, as if they were used to this kind of reception. Larry watched in amazement as the MIB agents began to round up the neighbors, herding them away from the scene with a calm authority that suggested they'd done this before. The women followed willingly, as if they were tourists being shown the sights by an overeager guide. One of the agents, a stern-faced man with a sharp jaw and piercing blue eyes, approached Larry. "You saw nothing," he said, his voice a low, soothing murmur. Larry felt the weight of his words, and his memory began to unravel like a cheap sweater. But then, the red-headed alien girl looked back at him, and their eyes locked in for a brief electric moment. Her hand brushed against his, and as she passed, a jolt of something unexplainable surged through him. The agent's grip tightened on Larry's arm. "I said, you saw nothing." But it was too late. The connection had been made, and Larry's love-stricken brain clung to the memory of her touch, her eyes, the sound of her voice. He couldn't forget her, no matter how hard he tried. He stumbled as the agent guided him back to his house, the other neighbors' minds already wiped clean, walking in a daze to their daily routines. The alien girl's gaze lingered in his mind, a beacon of color in a world now painted in shades of gray. Once inside, Larry's thoughts raced like a hamster on a wheel. The aliens were here, in his neighborhood, and he was in love with one of them. He knew it was crazy, but love didn't come with a manual, and certainly not one for intergalactic relationships. He had to find her again, to understand why she'd looked at him like that, why she'd left this piece of her with him amidst the chaos. The days ticked by, and the news was eerily silent about the incident. Larry couldn't shake the feeling that he was the only one who remembered the bikini-clad Martians. His friends and family talked about the weather, work, and the latest sitcoms as if nothing out of the ordinary had happened. It was driving him mad, but he kept his secret close to his chest, afraid of being labeled a lunatic. One night, unable to sleep, he was jolted awake by a soft tapping on his bedroom window. He crept over and peered through the blinds. The red-haired girl from Mars stood outside, looking up at him with a mix of urgency and hope. His heart leaped frogged in his chest. She gestured for him to come out, and without a second thought, he threw on some clothes and snuck out the back door. Her voice was a hushed whisper that seemed to carry on the chilly night air. "Larry," she said, her emerald eyes searching his face, "I need your help." She spoke perfect English now, and Larry wondered if it was part of the MIB's mind wipe protocol or if she'd learned it from his thoughts. "My planet, Mars, is in trouble. Our sun is dying, and we need a new home. But there's a problem. Your Earth is doomed too." The revelation hit him like a ton of bricks. The girl who had captured his heart was also a harbinger of doom for two worlds. He swallowed hard, trying to process the gravity of the situation. How? He managed to croak out. The Martian girl, whose name Larry had learned was Lauren, took a deep breath. Our sun is in its final throes, she explained, her voice tinged with sadness. The heat and light are fading. We have the technology to survive, but we need a new source of energy. We've found one, but it lies in the core of your planet. If we can harness it, we can save both our worlds. Her words sent a tremor through Larry's soul. The girl he loved, the girl who had chosen him to remember, was also the key to Earth's destruction. He felt torn between his newfound affection for her and the loyalty to the planet that had been his home for all his life. The weight of the decision settled on him like a heavy blanket, smothering his initial excitement at being part of something so much bigger than himself. But how can we stop it? Larry asked, his voice cracking with urgency. Lauren took his hand, her skin cool and smooth, and led him to the edge of the crater where the spaceship had once been. We have to convince the leaders of Earth that we come in peace, she said, her grip tightening as she spoke. We need to show them that our intentions are pure, and that by working together, we can find a solution that benefits everyone. Larry looked into her eyes, searching for the answer to the question that had been burning in his mind since she first appeared. But why me? He finally blurted out. Why did you let me remember when everyone else forgot? Lauren's gaze softened, and she stepped closer, her metallic bikini glinting under the moonlight. Because, she whispered, her breath warm against his cheek, you have the ability to love without fear, to see beyond appearances. That's what makes you special, Larry. That's what makes you human. Her words resonated within him, echoing the emotions he had been feeling since the day she had crash-landed in his life. He knew he had to help her, not just because of the love blooming within his chest, but because it was the right thing to do. He nodded, feeling a strange mix of determination and terror. What do we do? Lauren's expression grew serious, and she outlined their plan. We must infiltrate the MIB facility where the energy device is being held, she said. Their technology can erase memories and manipulate reality. If we can get our hands on it, we can show the humans the truth of our intentions and the fate of our worlds. Larry's mind raced. Infiltrating a top-secret government facility was not exactly in his wheelhouse. He was a data entry clerk, not a secret agent. But the thought of losing Lauren and watching two worlds crumble was a stark reality he couldn't ignore. He took a deep breath and nodded firmly. Okay, let's do it. Their first attempt at breaking in ended in a tense standoff with a sleepy security guard. Lauren's quick thinking and Larry's surprising ability to bluff their way through the situation saved them from a potential disaster. They stumbled into the complex, dodging laser beams and dodging patrols like they were in a high-stakes game of cat and mouse. Larry couldn't believe how fast Lauren could move in those high-heeled boots of hers. They had to be a Martian fashion statement because they certainly weren't practical for sneaking around. Inside the heart of the MIB facility, they faced a labyrinth of corridors, each twist and turn seemingly designed to confound and disorient. Larry's heart hammered in his chest as they tiptoed through the dimly lit halls, the hum of alien technology a constant reminder of the gravity of their mission. They stumbled upon a room filled with screens displaying images of Earth from various angles, a stark contrast to the cold, sterile environment they'd been navigating. Their moment of awe was short-lived as the sound of approaching footsteps sent them scurrying into a nearby storage closet. Larry held his breath as the footsteps grew louder, then stopped right outside their hiding spot. The door handle turned, and for a split second, he was convinced they'd been discovered. But it was just a janitor, whistling a tune as he wheeled his cart away. They waited in silence, listening to the fading echo of the whistle until they felt it was safe to move again. The next obstacle was a biometric scanner that Lauren hadn't anticipated. Larry's palms grew slick with sweat as he watched her study it, her mind racing for a solution. She turned to him with a mischievous glint in her eye. "Kiss me," she whispered. Larry blinked, surprised by the sudden turn of events. "What?" Lauren's smile was both reassuring and urgent. "It's a Martian trick," she explained. If we share a kiss, I can transfer my DNA to you. It won't change anything about you, but it'll fool the scanner into thinking you're one of us. He stared at her, his heart racing. Could he do it? Kiss an alien? The idea was ludicrous, yet here he was, hiding in a government facility, about to commit treason for love. He leaned in, his mind racing with doubt and excitement, and their lips met in a soft, tentative kiss. The moment stretched, filled with a strange mix of the alien and the familiar. A warmth grew between them, and suddenly, Larry felt a rush of new knowledge flooding his mind. A map of the facility, the layout of the security systems, and the exact location of the energy device. They broke away, both a little dizzy from the exchange. Lauren nodded, her eyes wide. It worked, she murmured. They stepped out of the closet, and Larry's hand hovered over the scanner. He took a deep breath and pressed his thumb down firmly. The light flickered green, and the door hissed open. They exchanged a look of triumph, but it was short-lived. An alarm blared through the corridor, piercing the silence like a shriek. They had tripped a secondary security measure. Without wasting a second, Lauren grabbed Larry's hand and sprinted down the hallway, her legs moving with an otherworldly grace that seemed to defy gravity. They dodged more guards, slipped through closing doors, and even managed to disable a few drones that had been sent to intercept them. The adrenaline was a potent cocktail in Larry's veins, and he felt more alive than he had in years. As they approached the chamber that held the device, Lauren slowed, her breath coming in ragged gasps. The corridor was lined with more guards than they'd encountered so far. Larry could see the doubt clouding her eyes. "How are we going to get through this?" she whispered. He took a deep breath and searched within himself for the courage that had been buried under a mountain of paperwork and coffee stains. "We're in this together," he said, squeezing her hand. "We'll think of something." And just when it seemed like all hope was lost, an unexpected ally emerged from the shadows. It was the janitor from earlier, his eyes wide with excitement. "I know a shortcut," he whispered, winking conspiratorially. "Follow me, and I'll get you to the device." With a grateful nod, Larry and Lauren fell in step behind the janitor, their hearts racing in sync with their footsteps. The three of them slipped through a hidden maintenance hatch, the metal clanging shut just as the guards rounded the corner. They were in a dimly lit, cramped space, surrounded by the guts of the facility. Larry could feel the heat of the Earth's core beating like a drum beneath his feet, a reminder of the power they sought. The janitor led them through a maze of pipes and wires, explaining that he'd stumbled upon the aliens' true intentions while eavesdropping on the MIB agents. He believed in their cause, and he was willing to risk everything to help them. Lauren's hand found Larry's again, her grip tight and reassuring. They had an ally, and it was a human. Larry couldn't help but feel a spark of hope. As they approached the chamber, the janitor stopped. "This is it," he said, pointing to a thick, steel door. "But beware, it's heavily guarded." Larry took a moment to gather his thoughts, his heart hammering in his chest like a drum. He looked at Lauren, her eyes shining with determination. "We can do this," he whispered. They nodded to each other, and with a deep breath, they burst through the door, ready to face whatever lay ahead. The chamber was a hive of activity, with scientists in lab coats and men in black agents bustling about. The energy device pulsed in the center, a beacon of hope for two dying planets. But their victory was short-lived. The alarm had alerted the entire facility, and suddenly, they were surrounded by a sea of black-suited figures, weapons drawn. Larry's heart hammered in his chest, but Lauren's grip was a constant reminder of why they were there. In a flash, Lauren had transformed into a whirlwind of martial prowess, her metallic bikini glinting as she took down the agents with a grace that was almost beautiful to watch. Larry tried to follow suit, his body moving on instinct from the knowledge she had shared in their kiss. They fought valiantly, dodging bullets and blasts, but it was clear they were outmatched. Just when it seemed they would be captured, the janitor emerged from the shadows, a discarded MIB gadget in hand. "This might help," he yelled over the din, tossing Larry a small device. It's a reality bender. It'll give you the edge you need. Larry caught the gadget, his eyes widening as he realized the power he now held. With trembling hands, he activated it. The world around them warped and twisted, and suddenly, the guards were frozen in place, their weapons hovering in midair. The device had created a bubble of time around them, granting them a precious few moments to act. Without hesitation, they dashed to the energy device. Lauren's fingers danced over the alien technology, her eyes flickering with understanding. She managed to rewire the device to harness the power of the Earth's core without causing destruction. The air grew thick with potential as the machine roared to life, a soft hum that seemed to resonate with the very soul of the planet. Their victory was sweet but short-lived. The MIB agents began to stir, shaking off the time bubble's effects. Larry knew they had to act fast. He took the device from Lauren and made a split-second decision. "We'll take this to the United Nations," he panted. "They'll listen to us there," in his mind questioning. "They have to." Together, they sprinted through the facility, dodging guards and blasting their way through doors with the stolen MIB gadgets. The janitor, a surprisingly spry accomplice, held off their pursuers, buying them enough time to make it to the exit of the facility. There, a sleek, black MIB car unknowingly waiting for them. They dove inside, Lauren's touch started the engine, Larry at the wheel, and sped off into the night, the wind whipping through their hair and the stars above their only witnesses to the impossible journey they had embarked on. The road to the UN was fraught with danger, but they persevered. Larry's driving skills, honed from years of playing video games, served them well as they weaved through traffic and evaded the MIB's pursuit. Lauren sat next to him, her eyes glued to the energy device, ensuring it remained stable. The city lights flashed by like a kaleidoscope, a blur of colors and sounds that mirrored the chaos of their situation. Yet, in the face of it all, they remained united, driven by the love that had sparked their rebellion. As they approached the gleaming UN building, Larry felt a strange calm wash over him. They had come so far, against all odds. Whether they succeeded or failed, he knew he had made the right choice. For the first time in his life, he felt truly alive. They parked the car in the shadows, the engine ticking as it cooled. Lauren took a deep breath and looked at Larry. "Ready?" she asked, her voice steady. He nodded firmly. "Let's do this." They stepped out of the car and into the cold night, the weight of two worlds resting on their shoulders. But as they approached the doors, the reality of what they were about to do hit him like a ton of bricks. He was about to walk into the most secure building on Earth with an alien device that could either save or destroy the planet. His hand found Lauren's again, and she squeezed it reassuringly. They were in this together, two unlikely heroes on a quest for peace. The UN security was tight, but the reality bender was a game-changer. They strolled past the guards as if they owned the place, the device creating a bubble of invisibility around them. Larry's heart thudded in his chest, expecting at any moment to be discovered. But the world played along with their charade, and they reached the conference room where the leaders of the world were gathered. The room was a sea of faces, all tense and worried. They had been called for an emergency meeting, unaware of the extraterrestrial crisis at their doorstep. Lauren stepped into the light, the energy device cradled in her arms like a newborn. The room fell silent as the reality bender's effects dissipated, and she addressed the assembly in her clear, melodious voice. "We come in peace," she began, her words echoing off the high ceiling. "Our sun is dying, and we seek refuge and an alliance. Our technology can save both our planets if we work together." The room was a mix of shock and skepticism, but as she spoke, Larry could see the seeds of hope being planted in their minds. They had come with no weapons, only a plea for understanding. The discussions that followed were tense, with accusations and fears flying across the room. But Lauren remained calm, explaining their mission and the urgency of their situation. Larry watched her, his heart swelling with pride. Despite the danger, she had chosen him, a simple man, to be her partner in this endeavor. And as the hours ticked by, the tide began to turn. The leaders of Earth saw the potential, the possibility of unity and salvation. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the decision was made. The Earth would share its resources, and together, they would save both planets. The room erupted in applause, the sound of hope resonating through the hallowed halls. Larry looked at Lauren, and she gave him a smile that could melt the coldest of hearts. As they left the UN, hand in hand, the sky above them lit up with the first signs of dawn. The world was changing, and they had played a part in it. Their journey had been fraught with danger and doubt, but love had been their guiding light. And as they stepped into the new day, Larry knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, as one. The months that followed were a whirlwind of activity. The MIB had been disbanded, and their technology was being used to facilitate the alliance. Lauren and Larry became the face of the new era of peace, their story inspiring hope across the globe. They worked tirelessly alongside the best scientists from Mars and Earth, ensuring the energy transfer went smoothly. But amidst the chaos of saving two worlds, they found moments of quiet. They would sneak away to the rooftop of the UN building, watching the sun rise over the city. Lauren would tell him stories of her home, the red sands and towering crystal spires that he could almost see in his mind's eye. And Larry would share the simple joys of Earth. The smell of fresh-cut grass, the taste of a perfectly brewed cup of coffee, the sound of laughter on a summer's day. Their bond grew stronger with each passing moment, a bridge between two cultures. They had become the embodiment of what was possible when love and trust overcame fear and doubt. As the final preparations were made, and the day of the energy transfer grew near, Larry knew that no matter the outcome, he had found his place in the universe, standing beside the Bikini Girl from Mars who had stolen his heart. The day of the transfer dawned, and the world held its breath. The energy device hummed to life, a symphony of power that resonated through the Earth's core. The screens showed the red planet, so far yet so close, and Larry watched as the light from the sun grew dimmer, then brighter, then steady. It worked. The two planets were now bound by more than just fate, they shared life itself. As the applause and cheers filled the room, Larry looked into Lauren's eyes, feeling a warmth that had nothing to do with the alien technology. "We did it," he whispered. Her smile was brighter than the stars. "We did," she said, leaning in to kiss him. The kiss was a promise, a declaration of their love that transcended worlds. It was a bond that had been forged in the heat of danger and sealed with the hope of a shared future. When they broke apart, Larry felt a strange warmth in his chest, a power that seemed to pulse in time with Lauren's heartbeat. It was as if he could feel the life of her planet flowing through him, a fiery determination that could not be quenched. The transfer was a success, and with it, a new chapter in the history of the cosmos was written. The people of Earth celebrated alongside their Martian counterparts, the air thick with the scent of unity and possibility. The once feared invaders were now neighbors, their fates forever entwined. Larry and Lauren became the poster children for this new age, their image plastered on billboards and screens across the planet. They were the embodiment of the love that had saved two worlds. Earth and Mars.